Hear me out when I say this. This is not my first time that I've stayed at the ITC Maratha Mumbai. Yes, it's been a decade and a half since I last stayed here, but I had lovely memories. And since I was visiting Mumbai for around 3 days, I thought there is no better time to book in again at ITC Maratha and revive all the old good times. Unfortunately, I did not have the time or bandwidth to take a lot of photographs and videos because my to do list this time around was quite filled up. The check in process was easy. We were then escorted to the room. Now, my problem starts right as we enter the room. I was actually quite disappointed with the state of the room. It looked a little old, worn out, and I was very disappointed with the washroom, for example. The paint around the frame of the mirror in the bathroom was actually coming out to the extent where it looked like grime and dirt. The sink had grime around it. I was disappointed with the furniture that was not upgraded. It looked like I was entering an extremely old school hotel with grand exteriors, with a grand facade, and that was a turn off for me because if I am expected to pay a 5-star charge for a 5-star hotel, I should be promised a 5-star room in return, or at least something that looks close to it. The facade or the outside or the exteriors of the hotel was absolutely well taken care of, but I did not see the same being imposed into the rooms. The furniture was very old and scrappy. Yes, it did look like the time it was purchased it was new, but for example, there was fungus on the curtains, some of the areas of the chair was stained, the bed sheets look really old, the bathroom borders looked worn out. I was not really sure what I was paying for. I was disappointed. I was traveling with family, so they seemed happy, they seemed fine. I was not. Now, let's talk about breakfast. The best part of the hotel was definitely the breakfast zone. It was bustling as always. Breakfast has always been ITC Maratha's top point. But this time around, because I was so disappointed with the room in general, I was not really hungry and just decided to opt for salads and a donut. And I enjoyed the walks more because it was monsoon and the air was just so fresh. So that part was really fun and peaceful. This is a great area to take photographs and do a photo shoot. Of course, it was raining like crazy the days I was staying there. And what I actually enjoyed the most was sitting in the shaded area and enjoying the monsoon and the rain while making and fixing the plans for the day. I had a client meeting in the evening and I had decided to invite the client over to the Chinese restaurant at the hotel, and I honestly couldn't wait for the food. In fact, I had even gone to the restaurant a little earlier just to talk to the manager in charge there so we could have our selection of table. It would be easier in case the restaurant gets filled up in the evening, and I wanted a reservation of my choice of table and view. I actually spotted a very interesting conference that was happening. I took a picture of the sign. Then I also spotted some very interesting psychologically driven paintings that were put across the hallway. I did think they were a little dark and deep. I actually spent some time staring at these pieces of artwork that were placed across near the souvenir shops. It was finally evening time, and I had booked into the Yi Jing restaurant at the ITC Maratha. Now, the problem that arose was that when I got there a little earlier than the meeting time, I wanted to essentially ensure that the table that I had booked was confirmed and everything was in order before the client came. And unfortunately, I did not get the table of choice. Somebody else was already dining on it, and when I brought it up, I was basically asked to adjust and choose another table. I was very angry, but I controlled my temper because I did not want to ruin my mood. I did not want to have the view of the bar next to me. I wanted to have a more of a private area so that there could be less noise and less of a bar view. But unfortunately, I had to settle for another table. Thankfully, the client meet went well. The food was, by the way, top notch. I have no complaints on the food. The drinks were okay. The dessert was delicious. No complaints on the dessert and the food at all. I think one of the finest Chinese food I've had in a long time. So the next day after breakfast, I was actually standing near the Indian Mughlai restaurant next to the buffet breakfast, and I actually heard chefs fighting, the cooks fighting around there, and it got to an extent where they were pretty loud and they were fighting and arguing at the outside the restaurant. And I was just happy that I was checking out soon. So unfortunately, that process of checking out wasn't the most peaceful. I did love the food of the Chinese restaurant. I did love the interiors inside the hotel, but unfortunately, the room did not live up to its name and mark. I did not feel special. I did not feel taken care of. I did not feel I was checking out in a good mood. I'd like to think that it was just a bad hand that I'd got that day, and I'm sure the others would have had a far better experience than I did. I just related my experience, and I might just come here for the food again, but definitely don't plan on booking and staying here again. Unfortunately, that is how my experience was, and that's it for now, guys.